Hi everybody, I'm Charles, and finally I'm able to get out here and record my review of my BMW motorcycle. I've been waiting for this day for a while. It's a beautiful fall afternoon here in Quebec. The colors are lovely, and I came out to this dirt road. I wanted to kind of set up here and show you my bike and show you what I think of it and talk to you about that. One thing I didn't want to do in this review is just become a talking spec sheet. You know the specs, you know the engine, the boxer, the teleliver, the gas tank, the shaft drive, all the good stuff. So if you want a tech review, then go watch one of those. This is an ownership review. This is me, my motorcycle, and what I think of it with all of these falling leaves all over it. I'm going to cover looks, ergonomics, comfort, power, the engine, the transmission, you know, gearbox, the brakes, the overall kind of usability of this thing, and what I use it for and what I think of it. So hopefully you stay with me. So first of all, what is this bike for? You'll say, well, Charles, this is an adventure bike, adventure touring, you know, dual sport riding, that kind of thing. Adventure riding to me has a very broad, wide definition. You could go on an adventure on a gigantic Harley Davidson. You could take one of these. You could go on an adventure, you know, off-road in conditions such as this and use a dual sport or hypermoto or whatever it is. This to me is a little bit like a Range Rover, if you catch my drift, if you're into cars at all. Because a Range Rover, if you go back in the days, that was a sturdy off-road with some road usability, some comfort and stuff like that. And as it got older and more refined and the definition of what it's for kind of changed, and now it's this kind of rich suburb guys 4x4, you know, it's fantastic off-road, but you don't really want to go out there and maybe risk damaging the thing. I'm going to be honest, I stretched to buy this financially for the budget. This is a car payment. Okay, and I'm gonna build the confidence needed to get good at this kind of, you know, dirt road and, you know, get the ass out and mess with the traction control and stuff. But while for 4 or 5 years I actually have a payment on this thing, it's gonna be a pavement princess, and that's the end of it. That for me is what this bike is for my person. It's an adventure tour, a little bit of gravel, mostly on pavement, and go on these gigantic road trips. In the BMW lineup, I could have bought a 1250 RT. I could have bought a K1600 GTL, the big gigantic one. I wanted to, you know, strap this kind of bag to it and really kind of not worrying about getting it dirty and scratched up a little bit, you know, just, you know, because you use it in a certain way and you go camping and you might, you know, strap like I strapped the tripod you see me use onto these bags and stuff like that. You can't do that as much, I feel, on the RT or the GTL. So that's why I got the GS Adventure. In a nutshell, to me, that's what an adventure tour is for, and this is what this bike is for me. Let's talk about looks. I really do like the way it looks, you know. It looks rugged. I like the road presence. I like how big, fat, and wide it is. It's tall. I tower over most cars and even some trucks. It's got, you know, nice angles and stuff like that. And with almost like everything else, looks and taste are subjective. The Multistrada V4S looks brilliant. The Pan America to me does not. I like the way the new Triumph looks. Some of the Japanese bikes, meh. But you know what? For me, this is a good looking motorcycle. These are some of the things I've done to it, okay? There's the 719 BMW Billet Package. It comes with the cylinder head covers. It comes with different foot pegs and brake and shift lever. It comes with a very nice front kind of engine cover plate. Also, it's got nice mirrors. These are, I feel, way nicer than the plastic ones. If I was to go off-road a lot, I'd probably swap these out for the stock ones or just buy aftermarket. You saw on my channel that I installed a Puig touring windscreen as well as the Puig spoiler screen on top there. So that really helps with the wind protection. Apart from that, the only real thing that I've added to it was this 3M kind of plastic paint cover. You can't really tell, but it's all over here. There's the seam and it covers this part. It also covers both sides of the gas tank. I didn't feel like adding a big tank pad. I don't think these look very good, and I wanted optimal coverage. I don't know if you can tell, but that thing does, and it's dirty, and I don't care because it does scratch a little bit, but this is the 3M that scratches, not the paint underneath. And if I want to, I can rip this off and have somebody install a new one, and I'm good. If my knees rub up on here, which they would, and it's all dusty and stuff, I don't have to worry about the black paint scratching because of this. This, I feel, it's, what was it, like 400 bucks with labor and install and all that. This was a great investment, and I think it looks great compared to a tank pad. So now, is it comfortable? Of course it's comfortable, but again, comfort is subjective. It's got a really nice seat, and the seat does heat. I just kept the standard heated seat that came with the motorcycle. I think it's a great seat. I have it on the high position most of the time. You can, you know, tilt it if you want, high, low, that kind of thing. It's got a low or high adjustment in the back and in the front. I leave it on high most of the time. Everything's fine. If I was to do a lot of off-road, I think I'd probably leave it on low just to give me a bit more comfort when I have my feet down. I have a 32-inch inseam. I'm 6'1.5" with the riding boots, and I think I'm right in the sweet spot of what this bike was designed to do. Welcome to my house. A little bit of a parenthesis on ergonomics and comfort, something I forgot when I was in the woods just now. Getting on and off this thing. It's very difficult for me to keep my foot down and obviously toss my leg up when I have bags on there, and especially if I have the top case on, which I do like 95% of the time. I just like to have a little bit of luggage room, even if I'm going on a day trip. The bags in the front stay on for my rain kit, and this stays on. So to get onto this thing, I have a really hard time leaving my foot on the ground and tossing my leg over. So I just get on it like a horse. Left foot on the left foot peg, put your foot over, and you're good, and off you go. And comfort is also about leg room. So if I leave it on the center stand and put my feet up, you can kind of tell that I have a decent amount of leg room. Less so if this was a twin, because obviously the engine's in the way. I can't really put any highway pegs or whatever. If I need to extend my legs for a long period of time, I'll just stand, you know, and I'll just stay on the bike like this. It's completely fine for a few minutes. I have to watch out because in some areas that might be considered reckless driving, apparently, or dangerous driving. But you just stand for 30 seconds. It'll buy me another half hour. Just, you know, lets the blood circulate. I tend to cycle between having the peg on the arch of my foot and on the ball of my foot like this. I'll move my foot around like this. Sometimes on the heel, I'll just kind of, you know, give myself a bit of a stretch and a wiggle, but everything's great in terms of leg room. Really nothing to complain about. Plenty of room for my knees, and the width of the tank. Everything is really fine in terms of leg room and ergonomics for the bottom half of my person. So then if you're going to talk about comfort, you have to talk about the suspension, right? So there's a whole bunch of different settings. This bike has different riding modes, and one of the main differences between the modes is the two kind of suspension settings. You have, for all intents and purposes, a soft setting and a hard setting. So I leave this bike, honestly, in what BMW calls road mode 95% of the time. I'm in road mode now, going into some corners. As you can see, this is Quebec asphalt. Absolute shit. In road mode, see, in road mode, there was a hole there. I have no confidence in where I'm putting my front wheel. I'm doing the speed limit, and in road mode, the suspension just kind of irons all that out, and it's relatively comfortable. If I was in dynamic or dynamic pro, as I usually put it in, which is the hard suspension setting, you know, it'd be all bumpy and stuff. The Quebec asphalt is terrible. But real world stuff, you're just kind of doing this around 90, 95, 100, and you know, the camera has stability on it, the stabilizer, so you don't really feel the bumps, but if you can see the bike moving, the Quebec roads are absolute shit. So that's why I use it in road mode with the soft suspension. If I'm on a really, really nice road like I was in BC, or around here there are some, I might put it in Dynamic Pro. That's the dynamic suspension setting. It firms everything up quite a bit. I like the suspension in the softer setting. That's just how I feel. I think it's really, really comfortable. Okay, so engine and power. This is a point of contention, I feel, in the market, especially in this segment. Everybody wants to have 100,000 gazillion horsepower and, you know, have all the torque in the world and stuff like that. Honestly, power-wise, this thing has enough power, okay? I know the KTM is more powerful. I know the delivery of the Ducati is different. I really like the torque of this engine, and here's what I mean. I want to show you what I mean when I say it's got plenty of power. Plenty of real world usable power, okay? This is a quiet area, and 100 kilometers an hour is tolerated on this road I'm about to take. I'm gonna let this guy pass. Go ahead. And we're gonna turn right here, and I'm gonna show you what I mean, okay? This is not a 0 to 60 test, nothing like that, okay? What we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you a pull from 50-ish kilometers an hour all the way to 155, half throttle, and I'm just gonna show you what that looks like. All right, that was 100. That was just squeezing the throttle a little bit. This is what you're gonna experience when you're jumping on the highway, for example, when you're just trying to make a pass, okay? I didn't go anywhere near full throttle, and you know, front wheel didn't come up, the traction control didn't activate, nothing like that happened. It was 55 to 100 kilometers an hour, not miles an hour, and it was just a simple pull. All right, let's see what that looks like in fourth. 75 to 100. That was about 3/4 throttle, and it just leaps forward. And it isn't even on the dynamic throttle response thing. It's just, this is real world, usable, easy power. And the torque of the engine, the mid-range, everything was just very smooth and elastic and soft, and it just kind of propels you forward, and it's plenty of power. I'm doing 90 right now, 91 in sixth. If I wanted to just jump to 100 and make a pass, for example, you can pass in any gear. And I just twisted the throttle a little bit, nowhere near full throttle. So this engine for the real world has plenty of power, and it's enough power. If you want the KTM, the Multistrada, you know, go ahead. If you want to get the front wheel up, you want to go crazy, have at it. But for my experience, mid-range power and torque, this Boxer 1250 is fantastic. I do have one tiny, tiny little nitpick as far as the engine and transmission are concerned. One. So this is the nitpick I have about the gearbox, okay? This is kind of cruising slow, but cruising highway speeds, okay? Around 110. And at 110 in sixth, we're at 4,000 RPM, okay? I would love it if sixth gear was a bit taller. I would love to lose about 750 RPM at any speeds in sixth. I don't need passing power in sixth. I have it, but I don't need it, okay? If I want to downshift to fifth for some passing power, that's fine. Even if it had a bit less torque, and even if I was, say, look, around, and we're going to slow down here because there's a red light, but if I was at 3,000, 3,200 at 110, that would be fantastic. Lose about 600 to 800 RPM in sixth gear, and I would really, really love how smooth and comfortable and quiet and a little bit more fuel efficient this motorcycle would be at highway cruising speeds. Look, this is 3,300 RPM, give or take. We're doing 94, nice and quiet and smooth. But as soon as we get up to 110, then we're up to 4,000, and it's a bit much. There's no buzzing, there's no vibration in the bars, nothing. I know that it's tough to ask for a seventh gear at this price point. I mean, you're looking at different motorcycles for a seventh or maybe even an eighth gear for some models. I don't know, maybe the Goldwing or the K1600, look that up if you want, but this is 6 gears. Other than that, smooth and very nice. Okay, side note on the whole transmission thing, because separately to that, this comes with, what do they call it? Shift, assist, pro, whatever. It's a quick shifter, okay? So up and down, no clutch. You do have to use the clutch to start and stop and stuff at lights and stop signs and whatever, but you don't actually need to use the clutch to shift up and down. I love it and I hate it at the same time, okay? Let me tell you why a little bit. So I think it has to do with the engine configuration and how kind of tractor and robust they made the engine and transmission, because I know it's a lot slicker, I'm told, on the flat fours, like the S series for BMW, but on this bike, first to second is really harsh. Second to third is a little bit better. So really, honestly, all I use it for to shift up is third to fourth to fifth to sixth. sometimes second to third if I'm really opening it up. But you have to have the revs up to really get the most out of the quick shifter shifting up. And I'm in the mid-range most of the time with this thing. Shifting down, I almost never use. I like blipping it myself. It matches the revs, but it doesn't blip the revs and let you kind of slip the clutch out. I like to use my hands to do that. I'm just used to that with my old bikes, and that feels most comfortable to me. If I'm in a situation where I'm, you know, mid-turn in a quick turn and I want to shift down to get out of the corner, I might just close the throttle a little bit and shift down. You do have to manhandle the thing. You have to really step on it to get it to shift down. Shift up is a little bit slicker. So if you ever try one of these and you decide you hate the quick shifter, you don't have to use it. You know, it's fine. You could order it without, but most of the people that order these just order them fully loaded, and that's just how they come. So it's really a question of getting used to it, knowing how to use it. I spoke to somebody at the dealership that said, especially on the downshifts, don't just shut the throttle to shift down, just roll off a little bit and the sensor will know that you're kind of expecting to shift down, and it'll go in a bit smoother. I feel it's not perfect, and I feel it's the engine configuration, because everything I read and I listen to tells me that on the inline fours on the S series, it's really nice. So good, not great. I love it and I hate it at the same time. Tires. I'm not going to do a full tire review because I have no basis for comparison, okay? These are the Bridgestone A41s. They came with the motorcycle. You might get Anarchy Adventures if you ask for the road tire. I think it's either or. BMW just picks whatever they have in the factory and they put these on for mine. You might get Anarchy Wild if you're asking for off-road. I'm not riding these anywhere near the limit of traction. I got a bit of chicken strip left here. Most of the aggressive riding was done in BC and in Alberta during that trip. They performed very well. They did well in the rain. That was fine. They are noisy a little bit, so I want to know if that's the tire or if that's just the way that the bike is built underneath, and you can see all of the road and the front tire from the sitting position, if that just kind of funnels the noise up to the rider, or if it's the tire. The tread pattern is interrupted every so often by the grooves, by the tread, so that does cause some rolling noise a little bit. I think my next tire, I'm going to try a TKC 70 from Continental. I'm on the fence about the TKC 70 rocks for the back. I like the idea of the continuous strip of uninterrupted kind of rubber in the middle of the tread pattern, just to give you a little bit more comfort on the street. But I know that you're sacrificing a little bit of off-road traction, and like I've been saying, I want to get better at off-road. So that's for the A41s. They've been fine. I'll try the TKC 70s and I'll give you a comparison review if you want. Leave me a comment if there's something you want to watch. The GPS is acting up. Let me add another nitpick to this. This GPS is rubbish as we get back on pavement. There's ghosting everywhere. It doesn't work. I'm just trying to, you know, I have to reset it all the time. Look at it. This is by far and away one of the worst things on this motorcycle. It's been working fine today, and when I got the thing, when it was new, it was like this. And then Garmin sent me a new one, and then yeah, for 2 months, 3 months, no problem. All summer, all good. I went to BC and I did my thing in BC, and look at it. And my glove is supposed to register, and it's look at it. Nothing works on this thing today for some reason. Rubbish. So anyways, putting it back in road mode. They gave me the GPS. This was a bargain item. Like they're asking $1,000 for this GPS. It's linked to the controls, and I can, you know, wheel it and all that good stuff. But honestly, this year I think on the RT they integrated the dash with the GPS in there, the bigger screen. And they just kind of decided that, hey, let's just do what cars do, because obviously we can, and let's just do the Apple Car Android Auto thing, and maybe restrict some features, because obviously motorcycles are not cars, and you don't have the same you know, ease of use with your hands and stuff as you would in a car. So he's gonna do some dirt. That's electric. That's kind of cool. So yeah, that's the thing with this GPS, man. Like, it's hit or miss. I'm probably gonna have to, now the season's over, it's all good. I'm still under warranty. I'm gonna have to send this back to Garmin and and really not care. I'll take it inside and I'll chat with Garmin. They were okay. They kind of honestly knew already that the GPS was a problem. They make better ones than this. This is just from BMW, and I think it's made to a price point for profit for BMW, honestly. So enough about the GPS. Today it doesn't work. It was fine until today. Today it doesn't work. So while we're just riding in town here a little bit, let's talk about service, because I feel that this is something that might be putting some of you off on a BMW or indeed any kind of expensive motorcycle. It's, in my experience so far, and I've ridden this about 14,000 kilometers, just short of 10,000 miles, it's really not so bad. I spoke to the dealership, and I mean, they're gonna speak for their brand, of course, but they also sell Harley Davidsons, and it's the same service department, and I feel the guys know what they're talking about at the Montreal dealership. And he said, look, most customers that have GSs, if they don't beat them up, if they don't, you know, go do the whole long way around thing, they're going to be in here every 10,000 for their regular maintenance service. And you might see situations where, you know, a sensor goes somewhere. Maybe the kickstand sensor will keep the engine from starting. You know, there's some things that might happen, but these are not expensive items, and they're under warranty. The extended warranty on this was actually pretty cheap, so I went for that. I felt that if I had 1 or 2 extra repairs after the normal warranty was over, I was going to break even. So I felt that that was a comfortable purchase for me. The schedule, like I said, is every 10,000 or so. So the first visit you're going to make is at 1,000, because you have that break-in service. And then you're going to go to the 10,000. I was late a little bit on the 10,000 service, which is fine because I was just doing highway stuff on the videos you saw my trip to British Columbia. If you haven't, go watch that. But I just went in for the regular 10,000 oil change around 13,000 like a month ago, and that was a couple $100, and it was just an oil change, and they look at some stuff, they give you an inspection report, and you're good. The expensive services are at the 20,000 intervals, because they have to check the valve clearances, so they have to take the top end of the motor, not apart, but at least take the valve covers off to clear the valves and check to see if your clearance is good. Now, that's an irritant for just about anybody who doesn't feel like doing that themselves, because it's expensive, it's time consuming, that's why it's expensive. And there's an argument to be made that BMW has the means to design an engine that doesn't require such maintenance. I mean, my 1984 Honda didn't require a valve checkup every 20,000. Like, that had hydraulic valves or whatever, you just left them alone and you were fine. In all honesty, and I used to sell cars, I used to work in a dealership, this is a long time ago, I know for a fact that in vehicular sales, most of the time, the survival of the dealership network completely hinges on the service department. So if none of this needs any maintenance ever, A, you're going to pay 50 grand for the bike, and B, the dealership's probably going to close shop because they're not going to fix anything ever, or they're not going to maintain any of this. So I don't feel bad for BMW. I don't even feel bad for the dealership, for that matter. Like, it's a business like anything else. I'd rather not pay for anything. But if you think of it that way, that's one of the things that, you know, they have to do to kind of survive is build in some, I guess, maintenance things on the motorcycle that need done every so often, so the dealership makes a little bit of money. I don't know if you've heard this argument before. Leave me a comment if you think I'm completely nonsensical about this, but I kind of, you know, decide to trust the dealership mechanic with most of the work. I'm very happy to do an oil change myself if I have to. I could probably do a rear end service on this thing, no problem. I just choose not to. I just choose to ride to the dealership and pay somebody else to do it properly, and to save me the time and the hassle and the risk of maybe doing something wrong and damaging something. At least, again, until this thing runs out of its extended warranty that I bought, that's my strategy for service. Okay, folks, I waited until the end of the review to talk about the elephant in the room, and that is the weight of this motorcycle. You've seen the press reviews and stuff, and they tell you, hey, because of the engine configuration, the center of gravity is all low down and stuff, and that's all right, and that's all correct and fine and dandy and everything. I want to tell you how it feels, and I have the luxury of living on a really, really quiet street at the end of a roundabout in a neighborhood with all these stop signs, and I want to tell you how it feels. I did not put my foot down not running, but actually making that stop. Did I come to a full, mathematical, complete wheels stopping and everything and look left and right? I mean, there's no cars. Left, right, put it in first. I come to what I feel is a complete stop with the motorcycle and I proceed, right? I didn't put my foot down. This thing is very manageable at low speeds. I'll give you some examples on the roundabout, but if you use your proper riding techniques, this thing is very flickable, counter steering. This thing is great at low speed environments, even if it's technically a heavy motorcycle. It's very well thought out, the geometry, the suspension, the telelever I love in the front, no issues at all. And it's very, very manageable. Now, I'll be honest, I'm 6'1" with the boots and I'm about 235 pounds. I'm a bigger guy. I can handle a bike like this, and if I need to save it and pick it up off the floor, if I do drop it, I'm able to do that. Again, I didn't put my foot down there. I just kind of, corrected it. You saw a little bit, turn right, and then off we go. It's a situation where if I do make a mistake and I have to put my foot down, I'm able to save it because I'm a bigger, maybe a stronger person physically. If you're a smaller rider, or if you're a woman, and you're just shorter, they make a lower suspension version so you can plant your feet a little bit more. I'm going to show you some stuff on the roundabout here, if I can, just about the low speed maneuverability. And if you just use the tricks that you've been told, it's completely docile and it's fine. I'm going to show you some U-turns using the width of the road here. And for these, I like to counter lean. And you put your foot, I'm not going to go where there's a garbage can because that'll impede some of the width, but like here, for example, I got my foot on the back brake, I'm counter leaning the bike, I'm running the clutch, and I'm just making a U-turn left. Okay, let's do the same thing on the right side. Ride the clutch a little bit, foot on the back brake, turn your head, ride the clutch a little bit, give it some throttle, and counter lean, and you're good. You let the car through. And then you proceed. All right, he saw me the whole time and I saw him too. That was fine. So yes, it's heavy. Yes, you have to manage at low speeds, but it's very, very, very manageable. Just you feel the weight. There is weight, but you feel where it is and you feel where it behaves, and you can just kind of counter lean. See, this is my car and my entrance right here. I'm on gravel. If I have to make a U-turn, same idea. Just counter lean your body in the opposite direction, use the back brake, and you're off, right? It's very simple. And here I am kind of doing it uphill again. Turn your head, use the back brake, use the clutch, counter lean, and you're good. You don't have to put your foot down. It's a manageable motorcycle. This is the best angle. This is obviously where I look at this motorcycle the most. It's where you spend most of your time. I think this angle in particular looks very good, and I want to take this opportunity to tell you about the accommodations and the tools and features that you can find on the handlebars, and a little bit about the menu. Obviously, power and ignition is up here, and that's what activates the TFT display. I'm going to link in the description a very detailed video that I enjoyed watching very much when I got this bike when it was new, that really explains all of the menu items that you find on the in the dash there. So I'm not going to do a full dash review. This isn't what this video is for, okay? But you do use this menu button here and the Wonder Wheel to go through the menu items. Okay, so up just allows you to change the information on the top bar. I just have it on, range, fuel gauge, and the odometer, and whatever else. Then down allows you to go to the main menus. You have information on your vehicle, all the different pages for, your consumption and your tire pressures and all that good stuff. The trip information is up here. The settings for the nav. Obviously now the phone isn't connected, but if I wanted to, change settings and change the riding modes and all that good stuff is all in here, and it's all very, very simple to use. Okay, so I won't keep the ignition on any more than I have to, so that'll pop off here. So to continue on the left side here, suspension adjustment button is here, and the traction control adjustment to go through the main menus here is on this button here. On the back here you have the high beam for the front, cruise control on, off, obviously when it's on, set and resume is up here. Then you have your indicators and your horn, okay? This is a button here for the auxiliary lights, if you've selected the option, which this has, is on here, okay? On the right side is a lot more simple. Obviously, kill switch for the bike, and the ignition starting motor is here. Mode button, which allows you to go through the main riding modes for the bike, and the heated grip and heated seat control, which this has, is on the top here, okay? What I love is the quality of the plastic and the rubber that they picked for all of the controls. I sat on a KTM for a bit, I sat on the Harley Davidson for a bit, and that didn't feel the same. I feel that these are nice, and it feels premium, and it feels like it's going to last a long time. Ducati had a similar feel. It was kind of a premium feeling item. I like the rubber that they picked. Like I said before, I have the 719 accessory kind of, billet and aluminum mirrors. I think this looks really good. Also have the brake fluid and kind of clutch fluid here, which is the same kind of fluid there. Also, there's a little cubby hole which I use to keep the remote control for my garage door. A little bit dirty, that's fine. I just keep it in here so that I don't have to kind of get up and go to the door controls, and I just keep that in there. Not much fits in here. You can't really fit a wallet. You might be able to fit a credit card, that's about it, but I don't keep any kind of money or anything like that. You might keep a Ziploc bag with change for tolls in the States if you have to use tolls a lot and throw quarters at stuff, but I don't know what else to do with this little cubby hole here, right? I like the seating position. I like the tank width. It feels natural. My hips are at a natural angle. The handlebars are at the right height for me. I don't use any risers. I'm on the road most of the time. My hands are just underneath my shoulders and just over my hips, and it feels awesome. The USB port is very useful. You might have seen in another one of my videos, I keep a battery bank in this bag a lot, and I'll run the USB wire up this bag and up through the fairing, and I use the USB port to charge the battery bank in the bag while I'm going along. So that's very, very useful. I have two nitpicks about the dash arrangement. First, and I think this is pretty well documented, these gauges, or rather these buttons, this switch gear is not backlit. So at night, obviously, unless you're in town and you have some ambient light and stuff like that, you might have a hard time at first, especially since the kind of muscle memory hasn't built into your hands and your thumbs. You might have a hard time finding what you're looking for because there's quite a few buttons on here, okay? The wheel does help because that's very, very self-explanatory and easy to use, left, right, up, down. Menu is right here, but for the other stuff, it could be a little bit difficult. So I know there are other motorcycles, and even in the BMW range, that do have backlit gauges. Maybe for the whatever the next version is, 1300, 1350, 1400, whatever they call them, maybe that's something they add. That's a well-documented kind of negative review point on the switchgear. My other nitpick, and this isn't something that I saw online or read about, maybe this is just me, and it's the location of the button for the heated grips and heated seat right here. What this button does is it'll prompt, in the dash, your controls. You pick the Wonder Wheel position. You want, whatever heated grips or seat intensity you want, and, you're good. The only thing, though, if I'm operating the throttle, if you take a look at my hand is operating the throttle here, and I want to roll to grab the button with my thumb or my index finger, see how it changes the position of my hand? And I'm kind of afraid that I can't really hold a throttle position too well. See how my hand kind of rolls? So I'm either rolling the throttle on or having to change how I manipulate the throttle to get to the button, or rolling throttle off if I want to use my thumb. I'm going to be honest, most of the time if I'm going around and I'm not using cruise control, which means I can't just let go of the throttle, I'm using my left hand to operate this button. I don't know what else to do. If I was to offer a suggestion as to how to design this differently, for me, since I never use this button, which is the auxiliary lights, like I said, because they're always on this bike, I want to be as visible as possible. Even during the day, I just keep the auxiliary lights on and never touch this button. It's easily accessible with my left hand. I don't have to worry about the grip. This isn't operating anything. This isn't a throttle, so I can just press this button. If they would have put the lights up here and the heated button over there, I think that would have been a little bit easier. Those are my two nitpicks about the environment, but other than that, guys, this is the best angle in terms of what the bike looks like. I like the layout, and I like the size of it, and it's very kind of thrusty looking. So folks, thank you for watching. Please do think about commenting, liking and subscribing to the video. I've got a little bit more activity on the channel lately, and thanks for being with me and kind of encouraging me to move forward with the channel and produce more content for you. If you feel that I left something out in my ownership experience of this, if you feel there's a topic I didn't cover, or if you have a question, leave a comment. Hey Charles, what do you think about this part of the bike or whatever? Do tell me, because this is my experience with it. This is by far and away the best motorcycle I've owned and ridden. I haven't ridden anything. I'm not a motorcycle journalist. I just kind of, this is what I wanted because that's the kind of riding I wanted to do. And I just got a GS. I removed all questions from my mind as far as what would probably be the best option. And I just went for the classic option, and that's just the way it is. Maybe I'll get something else later, who knows? But this by far and away is the best bike I've owned so far. If you're into adventure touring, adventure riding, if you're a kick-ass off-road rider, give this a shot if you haven't already. I think you'll really, really enjoy. So again, I'm Charles, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Cheers.